Let me tell you something about laziness that most people don't understand. Laziness isn't a character flaw you're born with. It's not something stamped on your forehead when you come into this world. Laziness is a habit, and like all habits, it can be broken. But here's the fascinating part. You don't break the habit of laziness by fighting it directly. You destroy it by replacing it with something so powerful, so compelling, that laziness simply has no room to exist in your life anymore. Now, I want to talk to you about your mornings. Your mornings are the rudder of your entire day. Whatever direction you point that rudder in the first hour of your day, that's the direction your whole ship is going to sail. You see, most people wake up and immediately start reacting to life. The alarm goes off, they hit the snooze button. Already they've made their first decision to choose comfort over discipline. Then they grab their phone, and now they're living everyone else's life before they've even started living their own. They're scrolling through other people's achievements, other people's problems, other people's opinions, and they wonder why they feel overwhelmed before breakfast. Here's what I learned over the years, and this is fundamental. You must become the captain of your morning, or you'll spend the rest of the day as a passenger. And passengers don't get to choose the destination. They just go wherever the vehicle takes them. Is that how you want to live your life? Being taken wherever circumstances, other people's demands, and your own undisciplined habits drag you? The morning routine I'm going to share with you isn't complicated. In fact, you might hear it and think, Jim, that's too simple. But let me remind you of something. Simple is not the same as easy. Reading a book is simple. Becoming a reader is not easy. Eating healthy food is simple. Becoming a healthy person requires discipline. The simple things in life are often the most profound, and they're also the things that most people refuse to do because they look too ordinary. Here's the first thing you must do every morning. You must win the battle of the bed. The moment that alarm goes off, you have a choice. You can stay there in that comfortable warmth, or you can get up and start being the person you said you wanted to become. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jim, I'm tired. I didn't sleep well. Just 10 more minutes won't hurt. But let me tell you what those 10 minutes really cost you. Those 10 minutes aren't just 10 minutes of time. They're 10 minutes of practicing the wrong philosophy. They're 10 minutes of telling yourself that comfort matters more than commitment. They're 10 minutes of training yourself to break promises, starting with the promise you made to yourself the night before about what time you'd get up. Every time you hit that snooze button, you're not just delaying your morning, you're reinforcing a pattern of delay that will show up in every area of your life. You'll delay starting that project. You'll delay having that difficult conversation. You'll delay pursuing your dreams because you've trained yourself that when things get uncomfortable, when you face a moment that requires discipline, you can just hit the snooze button on life. So here's what you do. When that alarm goes off, you count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you move. You don't negotiate with yourself. You don't debate. You don't think about how you feel. You just move. Because here's a truth that will change your life if you really understand it. You will never feel like doing the things that will change your life. Feelings follow action. They don't precede it. You get up first, then you feel awake. You start exercising first, then you feel energized. You begin working first, then you feel motivated. Most people have it backwards. They're waiting to feel motivated before they act. They're waiting to feel inspired before they start. They're waiting to feel ready before they begin. And while they're waiting, life is passing them by. Years turn into decades, and one day they wake up and realize they spent their whole life waiting for a feeling that only comes after you start moving. Now, once you've won the battle of the bed, the next thing you must do is hydrate your body. I want you to drink a full glass of water before you do anything else. Your body has gone 6, 7, 8 hours without water. It's dehydrated, your brain is working at reduced capacity, your metabolism is sluggish. That glass of water is like turning on the ignition in your car. It starts everything running. But here's the deeper reason. Drinking that glass of water is an act of self-care. It's a signal to yourself that says, I matter, my health matters. I'm going to take care of this body I've been given. And when you start your day with an act of self-care, you set a standard for the rest of the day. You're less likely to eat junk food later because you started by honoring your body. You're less likely to skip your workout because you began by acknowledging that your physical health matters. See, everything connects. Your morning isn't just a series of random activities. It's a series of decisions that create momentum in one direction or another. Either you're creating momentum toward the life you want, or you're creating momentum toward mediocrity. There's no neutral ground. Every choice is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. After you've hydrated, I want you to move your body. Now, I'm not talking about training for the Olympics here. I'm talking about 20 minutes of movement. It could be a walk, it could be stretching, it could be a workout, but you must move. Your body was designed to move. When you move first thing in the morning, you're doing something profound. You're telling your mind that you're in charge of your body, not the other way around. You're proving to yourself that you can make yourself do things even when you don't feel like it. And here's what happens physiologically. When you exercise, your body releases endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, all these chemicals that make you feel good, that make you feel capable, that make you feel like you can take on the world. You're literally changing your brain chemistry in your favor. You're starting your day from a position of strength rather than weakness. But beyond the chemistry, there's the psychology. When you exercise in the morning, you've already accomplished something before most people have even gotten out of bed. You've already done something that required discipline. You've already proven to yourself that you're not lazy, that you're not weak, that you're capable of doing hard things, and that proof carries you through the rest of the day. When you face a challenge at 10 in the morning, you can remind yourself, I got up early and exercised when I didn't feel like it. I can do this too. Now, after you've moved your body, it's time to feed your mind. And this is where most people make a critical error. They grab their phone and start consuming whatever random content the algorithms throw at them. They're letting someone else's agenda set the tone for their mind. They're letting the news tell them what to worry about. They're letting social media tell them what to desire. They're giving away the most precious real estate in the world, the first thoughts that occupy their mind each day. Instead, you must intentionally choose what goes into your mind first thing in the morning. Read something positive. Read something educational. Read something inspirational. Spend 15 minutes reading from a good book, from scripture, from philosophy, from biography. Fill your mind with the thoughts of people who have accomplished great things, who have overcome obstacles, who have lived with purpose and meaning. Because here's what happens. Whatever you read in the morning becomes the lens through which you see the rest of your day. If you read the news and it's all doom and gloom, you're going to see problems everywhere you look. If you read something inspiring, you're going to see opportunities everywhere you look. Your perception shapes your reality, and what you feed your mind shapes your perception. I remember learning this lesson the hard way many years ago. I used to start every morning reading the newspaper, and I wondered why I felt anxious and overwhelmed before I even left the house. It wasn't until I changed my morning reading that I realized how much my input was affecting my output. When I started reading philosophy, reading success principles, reading biographies of great achievers, my whole outlook changed. The same circumstances were there, but I saw them differently. And that's the key to destroying laziness. You have to change how you see yourself and your possibilities. Lazy people don't see possibilities. They see obstacles. They see reasons why things won't work. They see all the effort required and none of the reward available. But when you feed your mind the right content every morning, you start to see yourself as capable. You start to see challenges as opportunities. You start to understand that the effort is the reward, because the effort is what transforms you into someone capable of achieving what you want. Now, here's the next piece, and this is crucial. You must set your intentions for the day. You must decide before the day decides for you what you're going to accomplish. Take 5 minutes and write down your top 3 priorities for the day. Not 10 things, not 20 things, 3 things. What are the 3 most important things you could do today that would make you feel like the day was a success? Most people fail not because they're lazy, but because they're busy being busy with the wrong things. They confuse activity with achievement. They spend all day running around, checking email, attending meetings, doing tasks, and at the end of the day, they feel exhausted but unfulfilled because they didn't actually move the needle on anything that mattered. They were productive, but they weren't effective. When you set your top 3 priorities in the morning, you're creating a filter for the rest of your day. Every time someone asks for your time, every time a distraction appears, every time you're tempted to do something easy instead of something important, you can ask yourself, does this help me accomplish one of my 3 priorities? If it doesn't, you have permission to say no. You have permission to defer it. You have permission to delegate it. And here's what I've learned about priorities. If you don't set them, someone else will set them for you. Your boss will tell you what's important. Your email will tell you what's urgent. Your phone will tell you what needs your attention. And none of those things, none of them are aligned with your personal goals, your dreams, your vision for your life. They're aligned with someone else's goals, someone else's dreams, someone else's vision. So you must be ruthless about protecting your priorities. You must guard your time like it's your most valuable possession, because it is. Money you can get back. Opportunities can come around again. But time, once it's gone, you never get it back. Every morning you wake up with a finite amount of time, and every night you go to bed having spent it. The only question is, did you spend it on purpose, or did you just let it slip away? Now, after you've set your intentions, I want you to do something that might seem strange at first, but I promise you it's powerful. I want you to practice gratitude. Before you charge into your day, before you start tackling your to-do list, before you begin solving problems, I want you to take 3 minutes and write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big things. They can be simple. The sunshine coming through your window, the coffee you're about to drink, the fact that you woke up this morning with another day to make a difference. Why is this important? Because gratitude changes your state. When you're grateful, you can't simultaneously be lazy. When you're grateful, you can't simultaneously feel like a victim. When you're grateful, you shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. You stop focusing on what's wrong and start appreciating what's right. You stop complaining about what you don't have and start leveraging what you do have. Lazy people are almost always ungrateful people. They take for granted their health until it's gone. They take for granted their opportunities until they disappear. They take for granted their time until they run out of it. But grateful people are energized. They see the gift of each day. They recognize that every moment is an opportunity to create value, to grow, to contribute, to become more. And here's something profound. Gratitude creates energy. When you're grateful for what you have, you want to use it. You want to maximize it. You want to honor it. If you're grateful for your health, you're more likely to exercise and eat well. If you're grateful for your mind, you're more likely to learn and grow. If you're grateful for your time, you're more likely to use it wisely. Gratitude isn't just a nice feeling. It's a catalyst for action. So every morning, you practice gratitude. You remind yourself of how fortunate you are. You shift your focus from what you lack to what you possess. And from that place of abundance, from that place of appreciation, you're ready to give your best to the day. Now let me tell you about the next component of your morning routine, and this one separates the amateurs from the professionals. You must eat a proper breakfast, not sugar-laden cereal, not a donut and coffee, not a rush through the drive-thru. I'm talking about real nutritious food that fuels your body and brain for the challenges ahead. Your body is like a car. You wouldn't put low-grade fuel in a high-performance vehicle and expect it to run at its best. Yet that's exactly what most people do with their bodies. They fill up on processed foods, on sugar, on empty calories, and then they wonder why they feel sluggish by 10 in the morning. They wonder why they can't concentrate. They wonder why they don't have energy. When you eat protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates for breakfast, you're giving your body sustained energy. Your blood sugar stays stable. Your mind stays sharp. You can think clearly, make good decisions, and maintain your energy throughout the morning. But when you eat sugar and refined carbs, you get a quick spike and then a crash. And when you crash, what do? You reach for more sugar, more caffeine, more quick fixes. You create a cycle of energy, highs and lows, that makes it nearly impossible to be productive. Eating well in the morning is an act of self-respect. It's a declaration that you value yourself enough to fuel your body properly. It's a commitment to excellence that extends beyond just food. It becomes a standard for how you approach everything in your life. When you start compromising on your nutrition, you start compromising in other areas too. When you maintain high standards for what you put in your body, you tend to maintain high standards for what you put in your mind, how you spend your time, and who you spend it with. Now here's where everything I've told you comes together into something greater than the sum of its parts. When you win the battle of the bed, when you hydrate, when you move your body, when you feed your mind, when you set your intentions, when you practice gratitude, and when you fuel your body properly, you create what I call a success chain. Each link in that chain strengthens the others. The discipline you practice in getting out of bed makes it easier to discipline yourself to exercise. The energy you get from exercise makes it easier to focus when you read. The inspiration you get from reading makes it easier to set meaningful intentions. The clarity you get from setting intentions makes it easier to feel grateful. The energy you get from gratitude makes it easier to make good food choices. And the fuel you get from good food sustains all of it. This is why you can't just do one of these things and expect your laziness to disappear. You can't just exercise and think that's enough. You can't just read and think that's enough. The power comes from doing all of these things in sequence every single morning. The power comes from the ritual, from the routine, from the repetition. Because here's the truth about destroying laziness. It's not destroyed in a day. It's destroyed over days, weeks, months of consistently choosing discipline over comfort, action over intention, movement over stagnation. Laziness is a habit, and the only way to break a bad habit is to replace it with a good one. You're not trying to stop being lazy. You're trying to start being disciplined. And discipline, like any skill, is built through practice. Every morning you complete this routine, you're practicing discipline. You're practicing self-control. You're practicing delayed gratification. You're practicing showing up for yourself. And the more you practice, the stronger these qualities become. Eventually, they stop being things you have to force yourself to do. They become who you are. I want you to think about this. Every person you admire, every person who has achieved something significant, every person who seems to have unlimited energy and motivation, they all started exactly where you are now. They all had mornings where they didn't want to get up. They all had moments where they were tempted to skip the workout, to eat the junk food, to scroll on their phone instead of read. The difference is that they did it anyway. Not once, not twice, but every day, over and over until it became automatic. That's the secret. There is no secret. It's just the daily application of simple disciplines practiced over time. It's choosing to do the right thing this morning and then choosing to do it again tomorrow morning and the morning after that. It's understanding that you don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be consistent. You don't have to do everything right, but you do have to keep showing up. Now let me address something important. What happens when you miss a morning? What happens when you sleep through your alarm, or you're traveling, or you're sick, or life just gets in the way? Because it will happen. You're human. You're going to have off days. The question is, what do you do then? Here's what you don't do. You don't give up. You don't say, well, I missed today, so I might as well give up on the whole thing. You don't use one mistake as an excuse to abandon your commitment. That's what weak people do. That's what people who don't really want to change do. They're looking for an excuse to quit, and they'll use any reason they can find. Instead, you practice self-compassion combined with accountability. You acknowledge that you're human and you missed a day, and then you commit to getting back on track immediately. Not tomorrow, not next week. Not when you feel ready, immediately. The next morning, you're back at it. Because the longer you wait to get back on track, the harder it becomes. 1 day becomes 2 days. 2 days become a week becomes a month, and before you know it, you're right back where you started. The measure of your commitment isn't whether you never fail, it's how quickly you get back up after you fall. Champions aren't people who never get knocked down. They're people who get knocked down and get back up faster than everyone else. They don't waste time feeling sorry for themselves. They don't waste energy making excuses. They just get back to work. And here's something else I want you to understand. This morning routine I'm describing, it's not just about productivity. It's not just about getting more done. It's about becoming more. It's about personal development. It's about self-respect. It's about proving to yourself every single day that you're capable of more than you thought. See, laziness is often just a symptom of a deeper problem. The deeper problem is that you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe you're capable of achieving your goals. You don't believe you deserve success. You don't believe you have what it takes. And because you don't believe it, you don't act like it's true. You take the easy path. You choose comfort. You avoid the hard work. But every time you complete your morning routine, you're gathering evidence against that limiting belief. You're proving to yourself that you can do hard things. You're demonstrating that you have discipline. You're showing yourself that you're capable of change. And over time, those small pieces of evidence add up to a completely different story about who you are. Instead of telling yourself, I'm lazy, you start telling yourself, I'm someone who gets up early and takes care of myself. Instead of saying, I can't stick to anything, you start saying, I'm committed to my growth. Instead of believing, I don't have what it takes, you start knowing, I have everything I need to succeed. Your morning routine becomes your proof. It becomes the foundation of your self-confidence. It becomes the evidence you point to when doubt creeps in. How do I know I can finish this project? Because I've gotten up at 5 in the morning every day for the past 6 months when I didn't feel like it. I've done the work when it was hard. I can do this. Now I want to talk about the compound effect of this morning routine. In the short term, you might not see dramatic changes. You get up early, you exercise, you read, you set your intentions, you eat well, and then you go about your day. And the day might not be that different from yesterday. You might not suddenly become successful overnight. You might not immediately transform into a different person. But here's what's happening beneath the surface. Every single day you complete this routine, you're making deposits into your personal development account. You're building strength, physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength, spiritual strength, and these deposits compound over time. Just like money in a savings account compounds with interest, your daily disciplines compound into extraordinary results. Think about it this way. If you read for 15 minutes every morning, that's about 100 hours of reading per year. That's somewhere between 12 and 20 books, depending on how fast you read and how dense the books are. Now, if you read 12 to 20 good books every year for 5 years, you've read 60 to 100 books. Do you think reading 100 books on success, personal development, philosophy, business, and leadership would change you? Of course it would. You'd be a completely different person. But most people never read those books because they never establish the morning habit. They say they don't have time. They say they're too busy. They say they'll get to it later, and later never comes. Meanwhile, the person who commits to just 15 minutes every morning transforms their entire knowledge base, their entire way of thinking, their entire life. The same is true for exercise. If you exercise for 20 minutes every morning, that's over 120 hours of exercise per year. That's more than enough to completely transform your body, your energy levels, your health. But most people never get there because they're inconsistent. They work out for a week and then quit. They start and stop, and they never build enough momentum to see real results. This is why the morning routine is so powerful. It's not about any single day. It's about the accumulation of days. It's about what happens when you show up consistently, when you do the work whether you feel like it or not, when you honor your commitment to yourself day after day after day. And here's the beautiful part. Once you've established this routine, once you've been doing it for weeks and months, it actually becomes easier than not doing it. Your body expects to wake up at a certain time. Your mind craves the morning reading. You feel off if you don't exercise. The routine becomes part of who you are. It's no longer something you force yourself to do. It's just what you do. But you have to push through the resistance to get there. You have to endure the phase where it's hard, where every fiber of your being wants to stay in bed, where your mind is throwing a tantrum because you're asking it to change. That phase can last a few weeks. For some people, it lasts a few months. But if you persist, if you keep showing up, you break through to the other side where it becomes natural. Now, let me tell you about the ripple effects of this morning routine. When you start your day with discipline, that discipline carries over into everything else you do. You're more likely to make good choices throughout the day because you've already made several good choices that morning. You've established a pattern of excellence. You're also more likely to avoid distractions because you've already invested so much in your morning that you don't want to waste the momentum you've created. Think about it. If you got up early, exercised, read, set your intentions, and ate well, are you really going to throw all that away by spending 3 hours watching TV or scrolling social media? No, you're going to protect your investment. You're going to stay focused on your priorities. This is the magic of a strong morning routine. It doesn't just affect your morning. It sets the tone for your entire day. It creates momentum that carries you forward. It builds confidence that sustains you through challenges. It establishes standards that you're committed to maintaining. And beyond just your day, it affects your entire life. When you prove to yourself every morning that you're disciplined, capable, and committed, you start taking on bigger challenges. You start believing you can achieve more. You start setting bigger goals. You start living differently because you see yourself differently. I've watched this transformation happen in thousands of people over the years. They start with a simple morning routine, and within a year, their entire life has changed. They've lost weight, they've gotten promoted, they've started businesses, they've improved their relationships, they've achieved things they never thought possible. Not because the morning routine is magic, but because the morning routine changed them into the kind of person who can do those things. See, success isn't about learning some secret strategy. Success is about becoming the kind of person who implements the strategies they already know. Everyone knows they should eat healthy, exercise, read, and set goals. The problem isn't knowledge, the problem is execution. And execution is a character issue, not an information issue. You need to become someone who executes, someone who follows through, someone who does what they say they're going to do. And that's exactly what the morning routine builds. It builds your character. Every morning you get up when you don't feel like it, you're building the character trait of discipline. Every morning you exercise when you'd rather stay comfortable, you're building the character trait of self-control. Every morning you read when you could be scrolling your phone, you're building the character trait of delayed gratification. Every morning you set intentions when you could just react to whatever comes your way, you're building the character trait of intentionality. These character traits, discipline, self-control, delayed gratification, intentionality, these are the foundation of all success. Show me a successful person and I'll show you someone who has developed these traits to a high degree. Show me someone who's struggling and I'll show you someone who's weak in these areas. It's that simple. Now I want to address a question I know some of you are asking. Jim, what if I'm not a morning person? What if I do my best work at night? Let me be direct with you. That's often just a story you're telling yourself to justify sleeping in. Now, I'm not saying there aren't biological differences between people. I understand that some people naturally have different rhythms. But I am saying that most people who claim they're not morning people have simply never tried being a morning person long enough to adapt. Your body can adjust to almost any schedule if you give it time and you're consistent. If you want to become a morning person, go to bed at a reasonable hour and get up at the same time every day for 3 weeks. Your body will adapt, your mind will adjust, and you'll discover that you can be a morning person if you choose to be. But here's the more important point. The most successful people in the world tend to be morning people. They get up early. They get a head start on the day. They accomplish important work before most people are even awake. They're not reacting to emails and phone calls and other people's agendas because those things haven't started yet. They're proactive rather than reactive. Can you be successful without being a morning person? Sure. But you're giving up a significant advantage. You're giving up the quiet, focused hours of the morning. You're giving up the psychological boost of starting your day with discipline. You're giving up the momentum that comes from winning the battle of the bed. Why would you voluntarily give up those advantages? So I challenge you. Stop telling yourself you're not a morning person and start becoming one. Stop using that excuse and start taking control of your schedule. Stop letting your preferences dictate your success and start letting your goals dictate your habits. Now let's talk about the evening routine that supports your morning routine. Because you can't consistently win your mornings if you're sabotaging yourself at night. If you stay up until 2 in the morning watching TV or scrolling your phone, you're not going to want to get up at 5. If you eat a heavy meal right before bed, you're not going to sleep well and you won't wake up feeling energized. If you go to bed with your mind racing about all the things you didn't accomplish, you're going to wake up feeling anxious. So you need an evening routine that sets you up for morning success. Here's what I recommend. Decide what time you need to wake up and count backwards 8 hours. That's your bedtime, not your start getting ready for bedtime. Your lights out, eyes closed time. If you need to be up at 5, you need to be asleep by 9, which means you need to start winding down by 8. In that wind down hour, turn off all screens. The blue light from your phone, tablet, and TV interferes with your body's production of melatonin, which you need to fall asleep. Instead, read a physical book, have a conversation with your family, do some light stretching, review your day, write in a journal, prepare your clothes and your breakfast for the next morning so you don't have to make decisions when you're tired. And here's a critical component. Do a brain dump before bed. Take 5 minutes and write down everything that's on your mind. All the tasks you need to do, all the worries you have, all the ideas that are floating around. Get them out of your head and onto paper. This signals to your brain that you don't need to hold on to these thoughts all night. You can let them go because they're safely recorded. When you do this, you'll find that you fall asleep faster and sleep more deeply. Your mind isn't churning away trying to remember everything or solve every problem. You've given it permission to rest. And when you wake up in the morning, you can review what you wrote and deal with those things during your productive hours. Your evening routine is just as important as your morning routine. They work together. The evening routine prepares you for morning success, and the morning routine gives you energy and focus to accomplish things during the day, which makes it easier to wind down at night feeling satisfied with what you achieved. It's a positive cycle that reinforces itself. But here's what you must understand. This entire system, the morning routine, the evening routine, the discipline, the consistency, it all starts with a decision. You have to decide that you're done being lazy. You have to decide that you're tired of living below your potential. You have to decide that the temporary comfort of sleeping in is not worth the permanent regret of an unlived life. This decision isn't made once. It's made every single day. It's made every single morning when that alarm goes off. It's made every single evening when you're tempted to stay up late. It's made throughout the day when you're faced with choices between what's easy and what's right. You have to keep deciding over and over to be the person you want to become. And let me tell you, some days that decision is going to be harder than others. There will be mornings when you're exhausted. There will be days when everything goes wrong and you just want to quit. There will be times when you question whether any of this is making a difference. That's normal. That's part of the process. The question is, what are you going to do in those moments? Are you going to give in to the doubt and the fatigue and the frustration? Or are you going to remember why you started? Are you going to remember the person you're becoming? Are you going to remember that every challenge is an opportunity to prove your commitment? The people who succeed aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who struggle and keep going anyway. They're the ones who have hard days and still show up the next morning. They're the ones who fail and use that failure as fuel to work harder. They don't quit when things get difficult. They double down, they lean in, they recommit. That has to be you. When you face resistance, when you want to quit, when you're tempted to go back to your old ways, you have to find something inside yourself that says, no, I've come too far. I've worked too hard. I've made too much progress. I'm not giving up now. And here's what will help you in those moments. Track your progress. Keep a record of every morning you complete your routine. Put an X on a calendar for every successful day. Watch the chain of X's grow longer and longer. That visual representation of your consistency becomes powerful motivation. You don't want to break the chain. You don't want to see a gap in that string of successful days. Also, notice the changes. Pay attention to how much better you feel. Notice that you have more energy. Notice that you're more productive. Notice that you're happier, more confident, more capable. Notice that you're achieving things you couldn't achieve before. Notice that people are treating you differently because you're carrying yourself differently. All of these things are evidence that what you're doing is working. And when you see that evidence, when you feel those changes, it becomes easier to stay committed. You're not just following a routine for the sake of following a routine. You're seeing real results in your real life. You're becoming the person you always knew you could be. Let me close with this thought. Destroying laziness isn't really about destroying anything. It's about building something. It's about building discipline, building character, building habits that serve you instead of sabotage you. It's about building a life that you're excited to wake up to every morning. When you have that kind of life, when you're pursuing meaningful goals, when you're growing every day, when you're becoming more of who you're meant to be, you don't need to destroy laziness. Laziness simply disappears because there's no room for it. You're too busy living, too busy growing, too busy achieving, too busy contributing. That's the life that's available to you. That's the person you can become. But it all starts with tomorrow morning. It starts with winning the battle of the bed. It starts with keeping the promises you make to yourself. It starts with doing what you said you would do when you said you would do it, whether you feel like it or not. So tonight, set your alarm. Put your phone across the room so you have to get up to turn it off. Prepare your workout clothes. Put a glass of water on your nightstand. Get your book ready. Know what you're going to eat for breakfast. Make it as easy as possible to succeed. And tomorrow morning, when that alarm goes off, remember everything we've talked about. Remember that you're not just getting out of bed. You're voting for the person you want to become. You're choosing discipline over comfort. You're starting a chain reaction that will transform your entire day and eventually your entire life. You can do this. You have everything you need to succeed. The question isn't whether you're capable. The question is whether you're willing. Are you willing to be uncomfortable for a few weeks while you build the habit? Are you willing to do the work that most people aren't willing to do? Are you willing to become uncommon? If your answer is yes, then there's nothing stopping you. The path is clear. The routine is simple. All that's left is the doing. And the best time to start is tomorrow morning. Don't wait until Monday. Don't wait until the first of the month. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start tomorrow and let that be the first day of your new life. This is your time. This is your opportunity. This is your chance to break free from laziness and step into the person you were meant to be. Take it, seize it, make it yours, and never, ever look back.